A V8 has not been featured in the Porsche Cayenne S, I want to say since about the last 10 years. What Porsche ended up doing was they actually put a twin turbo V6 in the Cayenne from around 2014 up until, well, last year, 2023. The first generation Cayenne came out in 2003 for the US, and it was actually revolutionary for Porsche. It brought them out of bankruptcy, and a lot of that was due to the popularity of the SUV. It was a great luxury SUV while still being, able to go off-road and everything because of the suspension. And of course, that a lot of it was due to the engine, which was a 4.5 liter naturally aspirated V8. Then they got rid of it, like I said, for a twin turbo V6, which we won't talk about that, but they've done the Cayenne S correct now. In 2024, they did sort of a mid-cycle refresh, I guess you can say, of this generation Cayenne, and they brought back the V8 for the Cayenne S, which, well, let's go over this thing because this thing's, it's really good. My name is Evo, and you're watching God Next. Now, like I said, this 2024 Cayenne, it's not a whole new platform. It's essentially the same SUV that it has been for the last few years, but Porsche did do like a sort of mid-cycle refresh. So one of the key things was, of course, the headlights. This one does have the LED matrix headlights that Porsche offers, which is an option on these things. You can get the regular base ones or these, which are the matrix ones. Of course, the front bumper did get a little bit of a redesign. This specific one is painted in a really, really cool color. It's called Arctic Gray Metallic, which is sort of that Nardo Audi colorish that they've been doing, a little bit darker, but it's a really cool looking color. Now, this one is also optioned with the optional 21-inch turbo style wheels, which you can get. It is, I believe, like a $600 option on this thing. Maybe it's more. I'm actually not too sure, but it does have the option. The standard 20-inch wheels aren't too bad. Can you guys believe that? A SUV nowadays, these standard wheels on it are 20 inches. I mean, the original Cayenne standard wheels, I think, were 17s or 18s. That's crazy. 20-inch wheels on the Cayenne S are standard now, but it is a really, really good looking SUV. This one particularly being the SUV version, not the coupe, which that is optional. The coupe is about $10,000 more if you want to do that, which at that point, you kind of lose a little bit of the headroom and a little bit of the space, but whatever. But let's go look around back because that's kind of where they also changed a few other things. Now, looking around the rear of the 24 Cayenne S, you guys may be able to tell this is very Taycan-esque. A lot of Porsche's new design culture is focused around the Taycan, this new future-looking, electric-looking sort of design, and the Cayenne's no different. That's kind of what it looks like now. You have the huge rear light bar like the Taycan does. Now, this car is essentially a Taycan Cross Turismo with just raised and bigger, I guess you can say. The new Macan electric vehicle is going to have the same look around it. Essentially, a lot of the cars that aren't really the sports cars like the 911 really look like this, which nothing wrong with that. The Taycan's a really good looking vehicle, and this doesn't disappoint. Now, one way you could tell this is a Cayenne S and not a regular Cayenne is, of course, with the S badge, but all jokes aside, those quad tips in the rear let you know that this thing's packing something. Let me let you guys listen to it. Sounds pretty good, doesn't it? I mean, for a twin turbo V8, can't really beat it. Now, this thing, because it's an SUV, let's see if I can, I can get it to work. There we go. This thing does have a good amount of storage room in the back. Of course, you're buying an SUV. That's the one thing I never really understood with the whole coupe SUV thing is, if you want an SUV, why would you buy a coupe SUV? You're losing a lot of the headroom and, I guess, the storage room. But this one does have a good amount of room in the back. You can fold the rear seats 60-40 split, which if you're going to put your skis back here in the, you're going skiing in the Swiss Alps or whatever you're doing, there's a good amount of room back here. You can put your kids back there and whatnot, fold one of the seats or not. Yeah, there's a lot of room back here, but let's go ahead and let's hop inside and take a look at what this interior actually looks like, because that's where a lot of the changes got made. Now, inside the interior of the new 2024 Cayenne redesign, of course, it's very Taycan-esque, and I've been using that word pretty liberally throughout this video because, like I said, Porsche's new design language is very Taycan. I mean, from the biggest thing in here is probably that curved instrument cluster, which is exactly what the Taycan has. You have the same shifter that's in the Taycan, which is that little thing on the dash, and of course the infotainment system, exact same thing as the Taycan. Now, the Cayenne did retain something that it's had throughout all the generations, which is this little, or these little grab handles right here, which every single generation of the Cayenne has had, from the first generation, the second, and this one. Now, this thing is missing a couple of options. It's missing the display in the passenger section, which whatever, and it's got the regular black interior with the regular seats, not sport seats, which of course you can do pretty much anything. You could do like red, you could do gray, you could do beige, whatever you want to do in here. Now, one of my gripes with this interior is I do not like this center thing here for the climate control. I do like the buttons that are, you know, for the temperatures and everything. What I don't like though is how much fingerprints this thing leaves. And it feels kind of, when you push on some stuff, it feels a little, I don't know, it feels kind of flimsy in my opinion, but I'm just not a big fan of the haptic touch stuff. I like actual physical buttons, so give me more of that. You know, there's barely any buttons here. At least the volume knob is still a button, which thank goodness they didn't change that. But nonetheless, speaking of the volume, the sound system in this car, it's got the regular Bose sound system. It is incredible. I was blasting, or not blasting, but I was bumping some music in here earlier, and it sounds so good. I can only imagine what the upgraded Bose sound system sounds like for this being a regular one. But overall, really, really nice place to be. Fantastic interior for the price point. But let's go ahead and check out what's hiding underneath that hood. Now, here is what Porsche finally graced the Cayenne S with. If you guys recognize what this is underneath all that plastic, this is the Volkswagen Audi Group twin turbo V8, which is found in cars like the Lamborghini Urus, the Audi RS Q8, the RS7, RS6, well, you get the idea, a lot of the cars. And finally, they put it back in here. Now, in this iteration, it's not as powerful as the Turbo GT or anything. It only makes 462 horsepower and about 442 pound-feet of torque, which is awesome for a regular Cayenne, not hybrid Turbo GT or whatever. Now, the fuel economy, not the best or not as good as the V6 was. This thing gets about 17 miles a gallon combined in the city and like 22 on the highway, which isn't horrible, but it's also, it comes with the territory of the V8. But great looking SUV. Honestly, the only thing left to do now is to fire it up and take it on the road, see what it drives like. All right, so driving the Cayenne S, how does it drive? Well, about as good as you'd expect it. It's a really nice SUV. This specific one does have the air suspension along with Porsche's new dampening system that they've installed on the Cayenne. So it specifically retains the same suspension setup as the previous generation Cayenne, or the pre-facelift, I guess you can say, but it does have that newer dampening system, which really does give it a softer ride. I mean, it also, of course, has different drive modes. Right now, I'm in just a normal comfort mode, and the exhaust is quiet. You know, the car's pretty quiet. And then, all I really have to do is flick this little toggle thing down here, which we're coming to a stop sign right now, excuse me. Now I just put it in sport mode. It becomes a little bit more aggressive. It puts the suspension in sport, if you select it to, of course, and it does open up the exhaust baffles, which, let me show you guys what this thing can kind of do if we give it some throttle. Oh my goodness. And that wasn't even me really launching. I just took off from a, oh, you guys hear that? It's really nice. I mean, of course, like I said, I did not launch this thing because it's not mine, so I'm not going to be launching it on the street, but we did just kind of take off from a stop still, and it is a very quick car. I mean, 400 and around 60-ish horsepower is nothing to goss about. You know, it's, of course, not going to be as crazy fast as, like, let's say a BMW X5M or a Mercedes GLE 63S, but again, those cars more compete with the Turbo GT, which that thing is that thing is wicked fast. But I mean, for an SUV and how much this thing weighs, it weighs like 5,100 pounds. This thing is very quick. I really do like it. I mean, it's very, you know, it's very capable, and of course, for what most people are going to be using this thing for, it does what you need to get done. Again, we just took off from a stop still, and you know, if I need to get out of the way pretty quick, you just, of course, you get those little pops and burbles in the rear. It is super nice, and the transmission is very intuitive. It shifts very quickly. I mean, not much more you could want from an SUV this size. You know, it's very quick, and it sounds really good. It's very comfortable in here. You know, me personally, with the spec I would have gone, I do really like this Arctic gray color, but I probably would have gone with like a chalk interior or maybe like a red interior, just to kind of offset a little bit. But aside from those little nitpicky things, this is a really nice place to be. Now, there is one more mode that you can put it in. It's Sport Plus mode, which makes it really aggressive at that point. You know, it holds the revs a little bit higher, and of course, it gives it that a little bit more oomph, which, oh my goodness. I mean, it is just, for a 5,100 pound SUV with 460 horsepower, this thing gets, I mean, it gets up and goes. I really like it. I really, really do like it. This specific one has about 6,000 miles on it, so it is still really a brand new car. And the dealer wants about $125 for it, which is not a bad price considering something in this price range will be around the same price. You know, like I said, the Mercedes, the BMW. Of course, you can also explore the Audi options, which a lot of people might say, well, it's the same thing. The RSQ8 is the same thing as this car. Sure, you could say that, but this is a Porsche and that's an Audi. I'm sorry, but it's just the way it is. Now, we'll put it back in Sport because once you put it in Sport Plus, the suspension does get a lot more stiffer. As you guys saw, I went over those bumps back here, and you can feel them a lot more, especially with those 21-inch wheels. You know, for being the size of wheels that they are, the car is pretty comfortable, but at the end of the day, it is still a pretty big car, so you'll feel the weight of it, of course. Now, one more acceleration before I let you guys go. We put it in Sport Response mode. I mean, it's just, this thing is a beast. This thing is a beast. I really like this SUV. I mean, for what it is and for what it costs, it's pretty hard to beat the Cayenne. Let's get back to the pad and close this thing out. Now, it makes me so happy that Porsche put a V8 back in the Cayenne S because it means it's more accessible to people. Now, please do not take my words and get them twisted. This is still a very expensive SUV, but you don't have to go ahead and spend 200 grand on a Cayenne Turbo GT to get the twin turbo V8. You get this right here, which is a good motor. I mean, it's essentially the same engine. It's just detuned and it doesn't make all that power, but you can make it. But yeah, I think the 2024 mid-cycle refresh for the Cayenne, Porsche really knocked it out of the park. Really good looking exterior, very nice interior, and the power delivery from that twin turbo V8 is just perfect. If you guys want to check out more videos like this, make sure you check out our channel, make sure you explore, and let me know down below what you guys think of the 2024 Cayenne S. I'll see you in the next video.